Okay, are we live? I haven't done this in a long time. Go live on any of my channels. And I don't know when. Okay, the last time I went live on this channel is when Stadia was ending and I played for the last time. Now, if you're watching this, you most likely are watching the recording of this because I don't expect anybody to go live. I don't expect anybody to come in. If you come in, happy to have you. But this was kind of impromptu. I didn't post about that I was going to go live, and this was going to be just a. I debated making this just a regular video and do like a regular edit, but I feel like YouTube wants you to do multiple types of content. So they want you to do shorts, they want you to do regular recorded videos, and they want you to do lives. So I figured this is just something I'm going to be shooting for the hip. Not that my videos are polished at all, but we're doing something different. So I do want to like get into or just get my opinion on stuff and just look at the news and things like that. So I probably title this something triggering like can Apple compete with Google or can Apple compete with Chromebooks specifically? Um, and that's coming from an article. Now I'm going to, by the time you watch, well, the news that I'm going to be reporting on is kind of old by this point. It came out close to the beginning of this month, and here we are going into uh, about to go to next month in a couple days here. Okay, so this is coming from Chrome Unboxed, which they are, and the rumor is coming from Digitimes. So let me read a little bit of the article and then I'll give my views on it. Okay, so it says a low cost MacBook is reportedly in the works to take on Chromebooks. That's the headline. That's what people were talking about. That Apple is, in order to compete with Google in the education sector, that the rumor is that they're going to make uh, MacBooks, low end, lower price MacBooks to compete with Chromebooks. It says a rumor has developed low cost MacBooks and permanent Chromes in the education market. Let's see. It says sources said Apple will likely launch a new product line for its low cost MacBooks to differentiate from the existing MacBook Air and Pro lines. They say the outer appearance will still use metal casing, but made of different materials. The unit price of the mechanical components will be lower, allowing for a more affordable price aimed at the education market, similar to the positioning of Chromebooks. Let's see, it talks about suppliers and will launch. The claim is that this will launch in the first half of 2024. I'm sorry if you can hear that, my neighbors. It is quite late, so I'm surprised I'm the only one up, or that I'm not the only one up. They said I was like the goal is to compete directly with Chromebooks, which have become the dominant in the education market the past few years. Um, Almost every student has had their hands on a Chromebook. I have a few relatives, I have a few relatives near me that are in high school now. But as they was growing up, they started getting these Chromebooks. I wish they had them when I was a kid. Uh, but now everybody's got all these kids got Chromebooks, and so they've been introduced to some version of Chrome OS. Now they usually are the lower end, cheaper Chromebooks, but that is how I think most people are getting introduced to Chromebooks within the school system, and the other half has been getting Chromebooks through kind of professional job markets, especially when that pandemic hit. Okay, the price issue. In the classroom, competing with Chromebooks and other sim tasks. Managed to capture education market by utilizing extremely affordable prices. That's not an understatement. Uh, So it's a lot of those Chromebooks will be less. You heard the Chromebooks would be like $200. I felt some of those Chromebooks and they feel like they were $200. If you ever imagine holding a little cheap Android phone, just think the same with Chromebooks. Uh, so basically, the article goes in a little bit more, but essentially, you kind of get the idea here. Let me see. What can I? So the thought is this: will Apple make a low price MacBook? Let's say call it the MacBook SE. I listened to some discussions on it, and it would not be hard for them to pull off. The the only let me see, they would just make a small Mac. It doesn't have to be small. The size is kind of relevant. And just like the article said, use cheaper material. You don't maybe you put the M1 or you put the uh the chip that is in these phones and laptops. I mean the phones and they're on the iPads. The A17, the 17 Pro. You put one of those chips in. They are extremely proficient, especially to compete with the processors that are in the school Chromebooks. Won't be difficult for Apple to make something like that. The question is, will they at that lower price? Now, for you watching, you might be kind of smart, like whatever. Apple's not worried about Google. And if you believe that, you have not been paying attention. I would say Apple fans are not worried about Chromebooks or that they don't think Apple is threatened, but that's not the case. For a few years now, Apple has been trying to get back into the educational space. Now, when I was a kid growing up, I didn't really pay attention to Windows, Macs, and all that kind of thing. Yet we had them in the school system. The we By seventh grade we had was the first time I had my computer lab. Those are the Windows computers. But in the library, what were those Emacs or but I know there were Apple computers, the colorful ones were in the library, and that's where the Mac computers were. And maybe I noticed a little bit of difference here and there, but generally didn't care. So they've been in the education system for a while. Uh, but Chrome OS has just kind of taken over. Now I'm not sure. I'm sure there is probably Windows PC and Chrome OS. I don't know where Apple fits in the current landscape in the educational sector. So they went in. Now, this is an old article about this here. Make sure my screen is up. Now, I remember hearing about this was in back in 2019. Uh, Apple, little, let's just say Phil take shots at Chroma, says kids are not going to succeed. He goes, no, he's now it's kind of a misleading article. I don't believe he's saying that the because they're using Chromebooks, they're not going to succeed. He doesn't believe they are the best tool product to help the kids succeed. Uh, so I'm not going to try to misrepresent them. Okay, they said kids who are really into learning and want to learn will have better success. It's not hard to understand why kids aren't engaged in the classroom without applying technology in a way that inspires them. You need to have these cutting edge learning tools to help kids really achieve their best results. Yet Chromebooks don't do that. So this is jab. Chromebooks have gotten to the classroom because, frankly, they're cheap testing tools for required testing. If all you want to do is test kids, well, maybe a cheap notebook would do that, but they are not going to succeed. So you might be aimed at the method that the education system is taking, but he's kind of taking a little dig at Chromebooks as well. He's not wrong. The fact that they got into the school system because of their very low prices. So not wrong. And I'm not saying that. No, most people's if they know what a Chromebook is, most people view of Chromebooks comes from those cheap laptops, the $200 Chromebooks. People who have Chromebooks have told me something like, "Well, you can't video edit on a Chromebook. It's just a web browser," and I'm like, "Not mine, buddy." So it's not hard to believe like that. While why wouldn't Apple step in and dominate? They've done it in the mobile phone market. They're the best selling phone, at least in America and probably other parts of the world, but mostly in America. They're the number one brand smartphone. Um, and in certain editing, and I think I know from a friend of mine, when it comes to video editing, um, almost a lot of people favor the Mac and that ecosystem. The phone is very popular, and if you gave the choice, and I'll make this say, if you gave the choice to students, do they want to use Chromebooks or MacBooks? I'm gonna say 9 out of 10 of them, if not more, are going to want to use a MacBook. So popularity is there. They have the technology to do it now. But here's my input. I don't think they're going to do it. I think because the MacBook has such a brand. Apple itself is such a brand that it prides itself on being very pristine, on being very I won't say affluent, but being very premium. They make premium products. They can make low cost products, but they can never make cheap products. I mean, come on, the Apple Pencil is $100. No, no, I'm sorry. The, yeah, the Apple Pencil one is $100. If they make a MacBook and even a lower price MacBook, I believe the lowest Mac. You know what? Let me see what is the lowest Mac right now that they are selling. Let me go to the store here. Let me see here. So let me see where we at. Where we at? Come on, come on, come on, come on. All right, let's go to the Mac lineup. So the M1 Mac Air that is starting at $1,000. Don't there's nothing. Yeah, that's the on the low end. Everything else is above that. So it starts at $1,000. That's the lower end max. Now, granted, if you go into Apple Renewed or Apple like a refurbished, you are going to get a better price. But you can't do that when you're um, talking. Wow, you would need thousands, if not millions. Well, I don't know my math. You would need a lot more than Apple can give, even refurbished. Now, for the educational system, they are willing to lower the price, uh, but just not that much. So this Mac would have to be $500 less. I don't see like because if it's competing against a $200 Chromebook. Now, the best thing that Apple has going for them is people tend to have a low opinion of those $200 Chromebooks. They break, and even though as of today, Google's saying that from now on, Chromebooks will have a 10-year life expectancy. I think it was 8 before. These schools bought them, from my understanding, bought them when they were just a few short years, like almost out the door. So they might have 8 years at manufacturing date. They purchased them years after that, and they only had like 3 years of software updates and then they're kaput. So, but with Apple, I don't know how long Macs last. Probably a lot longer than Chromebooks, especially. And if they make a Mac now, it will be based upon their ARM chips, not on Intel chips. And since the M1 came out 3 years ago, uh, I don't know how long they will support the chip. Probably a while. I will suspect a while, but I'm not sure. What Apple has going for them is that people just trust the brand more and they don't feel cheap. But if they do this, I think one of the reasons people hold, if they do, hold Apple into kind of a on kind of a pedestal is because they make premium products. The issue is, can they make this and still try to hold on to that premium feel? Because you make a sub $500 MacBook, what's going to, and they're very probably afraid about cannibalizing sales. What is going to stop regular consumers from buying that Mac? It will be good, even if it's not an M1. The the mobile processor they got in the phones and tablets are powerful enough that the average guy was like, "Why would I spend $1,000 or even 800 on a refurbished Mac when I could get a good enough Mac for $500?" And I'm saying $500 because I don't see him doing anything lower. I don't see him doing a $500 Mac. Period. I think that's like no. Even if I would say, well, it will be like the MacBook SE. It'll be an older design, kind of like they did the iPad like 9, where they keep the same shell, but then they just bring it out every year. But no, it would cheapen their brand, even though that the market, I think, would prefer laptops. I just don't think Apple would do that. I'm not saying that whoever did your time is lying, but I'm saying they may have toyed with the idea, but it is hard to believe that they will come out with such a low option. They can do it, and it would be, will it be successful or not? I don't know. Uh, it would be good business, but I guess again they will have to be worried about it cannibalizing the sales of their higher Macs. Probably not the MacBook Pros, but it would probably cannibalize on their MacBook Airs. Yeah, and can you make enough units? Another thing, they probably buy those 200 Chromebooks because they know they're going to get broke or stolen. Is that sustainable? Like, and if they're going to cost substantially more than Chromebooks, schools are going to be looking at the cost. All this is going to come down to money for them. I don't think schools are going to be very eager to jump with another product, not a manufacturer, because if I know anything about like big business, they don't like change. And when it comes to like their networks and their technology, they're slow to change. I work for a business which kind of aggravates me that they stick to. Okay, at work, I do repairs, and I have to interact with the computer every now and then. I open a computer and it's Windows XP, and maybe even lower on some of these machines. So outdated hardware, software. These companies do not like to change. That's all the things that's going against it. But that said, we know that Apple wants to get back into the educational systems. So I believe they're going to fight. They're not just going to lay down and die. And you know, at least I know that Apple do consider the Chromebooks a threat or a target. They mentioned that a few years ago in their keynote. It was very slight, so let me get back to that video. It was very, if you weren't paying attention, you missed it. Let me get back to it. But I remember seeing this a few years ago and was just like amazed that nobody was talking about this. That, well, I'll let what's his Ted. I'll let this guy speak for himself.
And to tell you all about it, here's Melody.
This new iPad is packed full of updates, so let's jump in. Under the hood is a more powerful chip, A13 Bionic, and it pushes even further than the speedy A12 from last year's iPad. With 20% faster performance in every aspect of the chip, from the CPU and GPU to the neural engine, A13 is leaps ahead of the competition. In fact, it makes this iPad up to 3 times faster than the best-selling Chromebook and up to 6 times faster than the best-selling Android tablet.
Right,
And it means users will see even...
Did you hear that? Okay, let me pull it back. I hope y'all can hear with the audio. I should test that first.
With 20% faster performance in every aspect of the chip, from the CPU and GPU to the neural engine. A13 is leaps ahead of the competition. In fact, it makes this iPad up to 3 times faster than the best-selling Chromebook.
Now, I believe that was either the iPad 9 or 10 that they were about to introduce. But you hear what she said? Leaps ahead of the competition. This is also probably one of the biggest reasons why I don't think they're going to come up with a low budget MacBook, because Apple already has an answer for the Chromebook, and that's the iPad. It's the iPad Mini. As much as I am, I guess, more in line with Google, I do have Apple products. I'm streaming on a Mac Mini right now. I got an iPad Mini right here. I love this thing. It's pretty good. It's pretty powerful, pretty efficient. This is what I think is Apple's shot or what into the education system. This is what they vision. They vision students using iPads, not Chromebooks and not MacBooks. Now, and that was also in the article that we briefly looked at, where the guy said that that the people, the kids using Chromebooks won't succeed. He thinks they'll be much better prepared by using iPads. Now, may or may not be wrong. Look, this is pretty good. I went with a mini because I had an iPad before this. If I tried to make an iPad a replacement for my laptop, my computers, and stuff like that, maybe I'll get another video about why I chose a Chromebook as my daily driver. iPad itself is powerful but limiting. iPad OS, let's say this, the iPad hardware, and even like I'm saying, the software integration is pretty good, but the software is lacking, or is limiting, and it's fine, as long as it's, if I look at it just as a tablet, then it's fine. If it's trying to be a replacement, then it can't be for me. But however, the things that they're doing in school, the Chromebooks that they have can't do what my Chromebook can do. I think they're locked. I don't believe they can even use Android apps. Certainly can't. You have Linux functionality. They have low RAM. So in that sense, then the iPad is kind of comparable to those Chromebooks. And I know because I've seen those Chromebooks. And what I've noticed also is my cousins, they are different ages. They're like I'm like 2 years apart. And I noticed as they get older, the Chromebooks that they're using will change to where the eldest, she's a junior now, and her Chromebook is heavy, and I know that costs money. I don't know how much. I didn't. And I don't think she knows, but I think it was a Lenovo, and it's got some weight to it. This is not one of those things that you could just break and they just brush it off. And as he's getting older, they're giving him more expensive Chromebooks. Not great by comparison, but better than what they're giving these junior high kids. So at the higher end, I could see schools giving like the high schoolers some of these iPads. But and I asked her like Frank, like, hey, you guys have Chromebooks and that's Chromebook. Would you rather use an iPad? Now she has an iPad Air. I gave it to her for Christmas, and she said she would like to use an iPad. Fair enough. But I said, no, no. What about if you had to use the base? Because if they're going to be using iPads, they're probably not going to be supplying the Airs. They're going to probably be looking at the ninth gen. I would say the 10th gen, but I believe the let's see. Hold on. While we're doing this again, I'm assuming that ooh, I am assuming again that the iPads, the 10th gen. So what is the lowest iPad out right now? That's the 10th gen. So we have okay, there it is. They still have the ninth gen iPad, and that is still sell for the 329, 300 for the 300 for the education. I believe they'll discount it and sell it to you for 299. Some people are saying that the iPad Mini will be an education system, but maybe. But if this was the price of that, this would be a killer. 450. It's not bad, but but you're getting. Uh, but if I was kind of hoping that this would drop down because the not the this iPad always it always updates the seventh, the eighth, the ninth. It looks exactly the same. They just put a new chip inside, but they sell for 329, and for 329, you just can't beat that price. The thought was if this was 329, you really can't beat that price, and maybe at that price point, uh, you can send these off to schools. It'll be more expensive than the $200 Chromebook, but not too much more, and they last longer. But again, those iPads can get busted up pretty easy. What you get? This would be the best bet. The low end iPad. Um, Maybe they make a SE version, but I don't understand what a of like the mini. But again, the display they will have to make it kind of worse than this around this price point. 329 would be a good price point. I was thinking maybe that Apple would make a keyboard case, a cheap, a very inexpensive keyboard case to go with the iPads in case they still want the students to type. I think she said my cousin said she uses it to kind of write an essay, and that was it. Everything else she probably can do on an iPad. So again, I'm curious what Apple's going to do. There was a rumor about what was it like 7 9 months ago about a foldable iPad. First, I thought, hey, maybe that iPad is the one they're talking about that was going to schools. Upon further thinking about it, something that was is basically all screen would be even more expensive. Uh, Maybe they get that cost down. So I'm not sure what Apple's going to do. It could very well that they do make a low cost MacBook. Windows tried it with what was that thing like the Windows in S mode. They tried to have these cheap laptops that run Windows on them. Didn't do too well, and Apple's going to try to do it. I don't think they're going to use a Mac. It would turn heads if they did make a Mac. I think it would turn a lot of heads, especially they do different colors and that kind of thing. Um, but again, you got to think why the older kids might, use them, might not break them. Uh, there's going to be some damage. And does Apple want to associate themselves with something that's low cost? That's something that's considered cheap. I don't think they want to cheapen their brand. Uh, so they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. I do think Apple is playing a long game. I do think they got something set up because as the years go on, they can make these chips in mass, and so right now they can put the M1 in a lot in more of their products. So by the time maybe they'll come out and put these things, because right now the M1 is not just an iPad Pro, but it's also in the iPad Air. And then maybe one day it'll get into the mini and maybe in a cheaper iPad. Maybe one day all the iPads have M rated chip. Don't know if that means anything, but if Apple is serious, and I do think they're serious, just like they are about gaming. If you notice these the keynotes, they've always had somebody gaming, even though they're not. No one buys the Apple to game on. Sorry. I do believe Apple is setting up for something. I don't think, despite the rumors, I don't think this is going to come out in 2024. I think at the earliest something in 2025. And when we get closer, we'll know what is Apple's plan. Maybe it will be a low cost Mac, and I have to eat my words. But I personally think that they'll do something, maybe not new in hardware wise, but maybe something software because Google has already the suite set up, the program set up for the classroom. Google Classroom is already set up, which I think is going to be really hard for them to switch, for Apple to get to invade that. Because then the students would like those Macs, but the students are not the one purchasing them. It's going to be the schools. Everybody is in school. Everybody's using Gmail. It's all their Chrome profile is all set up. If they break a Chromebook, they just sign into another Chromebook, and nothing's lost. What Apple hasn't done yet is the ease of use in switching profiles. They're kind of behind on that. With you could do that with Chromebooks, and you can do that with the Google tablet that came out. Multiple profiles on the same device. Right now, things are so locked into one user. Apple's going to have to almost overhaul how they not conduct business, but how they are interacting with a changing owner or user. This is not, it won't be difficult, but when somebody's already used to a certain system, it might be difficult to get them to learn new system. So those are my thoughts. You tell me, does Apple have a chance here? Samus Pro, thanks for coming, hanging out with me. I'll see you next time. Peace.